Kama yuko mtu ametukana mimi namsamehe. Na kama yuko mtu ambaye nimesema chochote ambaye kimeumiza roho yake,
unahesabiwa yale uliyofanya katika ulimwengu.
Born into the Tugen subgroup of the Kalenjin people in the Kenyan Rift Valley, Moi studied as a boy at the Africa Inland Mission School before training as a teacher at the Tambach Teachers Training College, working in that profession until 1955.
Moi was only 4 then, and little is known about his mother, Kaban. What is known is that his elder brother, Duitoek, became his guardian and that he was one of the herds boys from Sako location recommended to join the New Africa Inland Mission, AIM, school at Kabatanjo in 1934 before it was shifted to Kapsabet. He was from the Tugen subgroup of the Kalenjin people. At the African Mission School at Kabatanjo, Moi became a Christian and adopted the name Daniel. Moi attended Tambach Teachers Training College, after its relocation from Kabatanjo, from 1945 to 1947. This is after the colonial government denied him a chance to enroll at Alliance High School. He later attended Kikuyu Teachers College and taught classes at Tambach Teachers Training College. Later he became the headmaster of a school in the KADU district. He worked as a teacher from 1946 until 1955. In 1955 Moi entered politics when he was elected member of the Legislative Council for Rift Valley. He was the chosen replacement of Dr. John Olatemano, the former representative who had to quit due to heavy drinking and suspected connections to the freedom movement. In 1957 Moi was re-elected member of the Legislative Council for Rift Valley. Moi was part of the Kenyan delegation at the Lancaster House Conferences in London, which drafted the country's first post-independence constitution, and in 1961 became Minister of Education in the pre-independence government. In 1960 he founded the Kenya African Democratic Union, KADU, with Ronald Ngila as a political alternative to the Kenya African National Union, KANU, led by Jomo Kenyatta. KADU pressed for a federalist constitution, while KANU was in favor of a centralized government. The advantage lay with the numerically stronger KANU, and the first post-independence constitution emphasized national unity, structuring the country as a unitary state. After Kenya gained independence on the 12th of December 1963, Kenyatta convinced Moi that KADU and KANU should be merged to complete the process of decolonization. Accordingly, KADU dissolved and joined KANU in 1964. The only real challenge to KANU's dominance came from the Kenya People's Union, starting in 1966. Party was banned in 1969, and from that point onward Kenya was a de facto one-party state dominated by the Kikuyu alliance. However, with an eye on the fertile lands of the Rift Valley populated by members of Moi's Kalenjin tribe, Kenyatta secured their support by first promoting Moi to Minister for Home Affairs in 1964, and then to Vice President in 1967. As a member of a minority tribe, Moi was also an acceptable compromise for the major tribes. Moi was elected to the Kenyan Parliament in 1963 from Baringo North. From 1966 until his retirement in 2002 he served as the MP for Baringo Central in addition to his various other offices. However, Moi faced opposition from the Kikuyu elite known as the Kiambu Mafia, who would have preferred one of their own to accede to the presidency. This resulted in an attempt by the Constitutional Drafting Group to change the constitution to prevent the vice president automatically assuming power in the event of the president's death. However, many senior Kikuyu politicians, including Mwai Kibaki and Charles Njonjo, as well as Kenyatta himself, opposed such a change to the order of succession, fearing it might lead to political instability if Kenyatta died, given his advanced age and perennial illnesses. Thus, Moi's position as successor to Kenyatta was safeguarded. When Jomo Kenyatta died on the 22nd of August 1978, Moi became acting president. Per the Constitution, a special presidential election for the balance of Kenyatta's term was to be held on 8th of November, 90 days later. However, a cabinet meeting decided that no one else was interested in running for president, and thus various politicians began campaigning across the country for Moi to be declared unopposed. He was therefore sworn in as the second president of Kenya on the 14th of October 1978 as a result of the walkover electoral process. In the beginning, Moi was popular, with widespread support all over the country. He toured the country and came into contact with the people everywhere, which was in great contrast to Kenyatta's imperious style of government from behind closed doors. However, political realities dictated that he would continue to be beholden to the system of government that Kenyatta had created and to whose headship he had acceded, including the nearly dictatorial powers vested in his office. Despite his popularity, Moi was still unable to fully consolidate his power.
Na furaha mwenyewe, ijapokuwa watu wakisema kufundisha watoto watapata kazi wapi. Nikienda Botswana, naona watu wa Kenya ambao wameelimika wengi. Na hata mimi nikaona haya kusema wa rais wa Botswana, pengine atasema mimi nahamisha watu wa Kenya kwenda kule. Lakini nilijawa na furaha hata nikawezesha ndege za hapa ziwe zikiruka kule ili wawe wakije.
Speaking on the new president's behalf, Vice President Mwai Kibaki bluntly stated, "There is no room for communists in Kenya." On the 1st of August 1982, lower-level Air Force personnel, led by Senior Private Grade 1 Hezekiah Ashuka and backed by university students, attempted a coup d'état to oust Moi. The revolt was quickly suppressed by military and police forces commanded by Chief of General Staff Mohammed Mohammed. There may have been 2 or even 3 independent groups attempting to seize power at the same time, for differing reasons, but the most serious was led by prominent Kikuyu politicians and members of the police and armed forces. Moi took the opportunity to dismiss political opponents and consolidate his power. He reduced the influence of Kenyatta's men in the cabinet through a long-running judicial inquiry that resulted in the identification of key Kenyatta men as traitors. Moi pardoned them but not before establishing their traitor status in the public view. The main conspirators in the coup, including Ashuka, were sentenced to death, marking the last judicial executions in Kenya. He appointed supporters to key roles and changed the constitution to formally make KANU the only legally permitted party in the country. However, this made little practical difference to the political situation, as all significant opposition parties had been outlawed since 1969. Kenya's academics and other intelligentsia did not accept this, and educational institutions across the country became the site of movements that sought to introduce democratic reforms. However, Kenyan secret police infiltrated these groups and many members moved into exile. Marxism could no longer be taught at Kenyan universities. The remaining opposition at home went underground. Starting in the late 1980s, Moi's regime faced the end of the Cold War, as well as a national economy stagnating under rising oil prices and falling prices for agricultural commodities. Western governments also became more hostile to the KANU regime, a change of policy from the time of the Cold War, when Kenya had been viewed as an important regional stabilizer, preventing the spread of Soviet influence beyond Ethiopia, Somalia, and Tanzania. During that time, Kenya had received much foreign aid, and the country was accepted as a stable, if authoritarian, regime with Moi and the KANU firmly in charge. Western allies overlooked the increasing degree of political repression, including the use of torture at the infamous Nyayo House torture chambers. Some of the evidence of these torture cells was eventually to be exposed in 2003 after opposition leader Mwai Kibaki became president. Moi was constitutionally barred from running in the 2002 presidential elections. Some of his supporters floated the idea of amending the constitution to allow him to run for a third term, but Moi preferred to retire, choosing Uhuru Kenyatta, the son of Kenya's first president, as his successor. However, Mwai Kibaki was elected president by a 2-to-1 majority over Kenyatta, which was confirmed on the 29th of December 2002. Kibaki was then wheelchair-bound, having narrowly escaped death in a road traffic accident on the campaign trail. Moi handed over power in a poorly organized ceremony that had one of the largest crowds ever seen in Nairobi in attendance. The crowd was openly hostile to Moi. After leaving office in December 2002, Moi lived in retirement, largely shunned by the political establishment. However, he still retained some popularity with the masses, and his presence never failed to gather a crowd. He spoke out against a proposal for a new constitution in 2005. According to Moi, the document was contrary to the aspirations of the Kenyan people. After the proposal was defeated in a November 2005 constitutional referendum, President Kibaki called Moi to arrange for a meeting to discuss the way forward. On the 25th of July 2007, Kibaki appointed Moi as special peace envoy to Sudan, referring to Moi's vast experience and knowledge of African affairs and his stature as an elder statesman. In his capacity as peace envoy, Moi's primary task was to help secure peace in southern Sudan, where an agreement, signed in early 2005, was being implemented. At the time, the Kenyan press speculated that Moi and Kibaki were planning an alliance ahead of the December 2007 election. On the 28th of August 2007, Moi announced his support for Kibaki's re-election and said that he would campaign for Kibaki. He sharply criticized the two opposition Orange Democratic Movement factions, arguing that they were tribal in nature. In October 2019, President Moi was hospitalized under critical condition at the Nairobi hospital due to complications of pleural effusion. He was discharged in November 2019, only to be hospitalized again days later for knee surgery. He developed respiratory complications and underwent a tracheotomy. A month later, he suffered from gastrointestinal hemorrhage which led to multiple organ failure and was placed on life support. Moi died at the Nairobi hospital on the early morning of the 4th of February 2020, at the age of 95, in the presence of family. However, during Moi's memorial service on the 9th of February 2020 at his Cabinet Gardens home in Nairobi, his son, Raymond Moi, claimed that he died aged at least 105 years old. Moi's body lay at the State on Parliament Building for public view for 3 days, from 8 February to the 10th of February 2020. A state funeral service was conducted at Nyayo Stadium on the 11th of February 2020, before the burial in his Karabak home in Nakuru County. He was buried at his Kabarak home on the 12th of February 2020, complete with military honors which included a 19-gun salute followed by a missing man formation flyby. His grave is next to his former wife Lena Bomet.
Many people have constantly asked me what I plan to do with what is often termed my tremendous energy. Well, I will tell you now what I plan to occupy. concentrate my efforts in conflict resolution in the Horn of Africa and Eastern Africa. Poverty must be tackled with renewed energy. The economy must be returned to the path of vigorous growth. The confidence of the investor community must be restored.
Haiwezekani kiongozi kuruka hapa, kesho anaruka hapa, kesho anaruka hapa. Iwe unaamini kwamba naingia chama cha KANU kwa sababu gani?
I can foresee the day when we will form a true federation, united not only by ties of language and culture, but by common political and economic interests. We have traveled a long road together. We have experienced fundamental changes in the structure of our society. Our journey together has not always been easy.
I find painful to speak about Mzee Kenyatta, who has been my father, my teacher, and my leader. Mimi, Daniel Arap Moi, naapa kwamba nitakuwa mwaminifu kwa Jamhuri ya Kenya na kuitumikia kwa moyo wangu wote, na kwamba nitahifadhi, nitalinda na kuitetea katiba ya Kenya kwa mujibu wa sheria iliyowekwa. Ewe Mwenyezi Mungu nisaidie.
Mimi nikiwa amiri jeshi la jeshi yetu ya Kenya, nataka kusema kwamba yale yaliyotokea leo asubuhi kwa muda mfupi imeletea wananchi wasiwasi mwingi.
I wish with humility to urge you to be loyal and patriotic to your motherland. This is my wish and prayer for Kenyans and the country I love most. Peace and prosperity.
In Kenya, businessmen, everybody be free. Foreigners, do business. You have unlimited opportunities, but not political leadership. I am glad to inform Kenyans that I have today assented to the bill as a sign of my commitment to political reform.
People complain about stealing, about people accusing one another, committing crimes and so on. We cannot, presidents of the world or prime ministers of the world cannot legislate the hearts of human beings.
Watu wengine wana incite watu wengine kupigana. Nimetoa amri kwa polisi, angiwa nani mtu kuumiza mwingine ashikwe, asimwogope mtu, asiogope, kwa sababu mtu anayeumiza mwingine si binadamu ambaye anafikiria maisha ya watu wengine. Tulipokuwa tunapigania uhuru, tulikuwa tunapigania tuwe kitu kimoja, kupambana na yale ambayo ni adui yetu, ikiwa na magonjwa, ikiwa ni ujinga, ikiwa kwa maradhi. Hayo tulipanga, na ndipo tuliponyakua serikali mwaka wa 63, tukaona kwamba kujenga Kenya tukiwa tumekawanyana haiwezi kujengeka.
The international news media will indeed be waiting to report chaos in Kenya. It will give us great pleasure once again to prove them wrong.
Lakini nimeona mpaka nikaona kwamba nataja moja kwanza, alafu watafanya na wengine. Na huyu Mzee Uhuru Kenyatta. Kwa nini mimi nasema Mzee Uhuru Kenyatta? Atakuwa mzee wa mtu hata kama ni kijana hivi. Nilisema mwaka wa 98 kwamba nitajiuzulu kipindi hiki cha miaka 5 ikisha. Wengine hawakuamini kwa sababu wanaamini power katika kontinenti la Afrika, kwamba hakuna mtu anaweza kuwacha power ya urais. Kama yuko mtu ametukana mimi, namsamehe. Na kama yuko mtu ambaye nimesema chochote ambaye kimeumiza roho yake, unisamehe.
Kila mtu atajitetea, si kujitetea, maana mwisho utahesabiwa yale uliyofanya katika ulimwengu.
Right, well, the late former President Daniel Arap Moi was today given full military honors as the body was taken to the Nyayo Stadium for the state funeral service.
Moi's body was first taken to State House for a short military ceremony in honor of his 24 years in the country's premier residence. Here's Stephen Laton now reporting on the highlights of the military procession.
The sound of the one-man trumpet when the casket ferrying the body of former President Moi made its way to State House, known as the last post. It is symbolic, accorded high significance in the military when a soldier dies.
You have set times and seasons under the heaven to teach us our need for you as a source of all good.
Donning their official regalia of red beret, jungle green ceremonial suits stood guard on either side of the road leading into State House, and the journey begins. "15 minutes after 9 a.m. Body of the late Daniel Teacher Arap Moi made a symbolic exit from State House, where he lived and worked as a country's commander-in-chief for 24 years. A spectacular display by the military as officers escorted Moi's body out of State House, led by Brigadier General Joachim Wamburi, commanding a barrage of senior military officers of the ranks of KANU. Foot to the beat. On a quick march, they kicked off the 6-kilometer journey to Nyayo Stadium. Officers drawn from different disciplines from the National Police Service lined the road to salute the remains of the former Commander-in-Chief. As the tri-service parade comprising the Kenya Army, Kenya Navy marched along Uhuru Highway, members of the public turned up in their numbers to pay homage to Mzee Nyayo. From the skies to the ground, musical renditions from the military band rent the air as the fit and up-to-the-task soldiers covered the distance. Draped in the national flag, the casket mounted on the gun carriage, signifying high military honors, followed suit. A colorful send-off for former President Daniel Moi's body finally made a slow entry into the historic Nyayo Stadium, where he first held his public function in 1983, 37 years ago.
Then sings my soul, my Savior unto thee.
His body was returned to the Lee Funeral Home in the evening.
Nafuata hivi sasa mizinga 19. Tamasha ndege Missing wingman formation. Tafuata sasa wimbo wa mwisho, The Long Reveille, ambapo kila sote tulio na sare za kijeshi tunaomba kupiga saluti kwa heshima.
Mwaka wa leo,
is a country, is Kenya, free from tribalism, free from sectionalism, free from all the things that divide the people of this land. I appeal to you, even if you pass one resolution, not several, which will be effective and solve a problem of 100 human beings, you will have gone a step forward. Na wananchi wajue kwamba wako katika nchi yao, nchi huru, nchi huru. Nchi huru kwa sababu tunaweza kutumikiana kwa kupendana, kwa kukaa kwa umoja, na lengo letu ni kuinua nchi hii. Kuinua nchi hii kwa mavuno, kwa jinsi mashamba jinsi yameendelea kama vile ninavyoona, mtu asijione yuko katika njaa. Na tufikiri wakati umefika, mtu akipata zaidi, kumbukeni wale ambao tunajua hawana. Pana kueneza fitina yote, rumors na kadhalika, kwa sababu watu hawa ambao kuruka kichwa wanaeleza uvumi. Hata anasema Moi mgonjwa wako, kuja hapa. Wewe unazungumza na nani alafu unajua Moi mgonjwa? Mimi mzima.